Hello and welcome back once more to Green Valley Zoo, episode 12, I believe that was. And this is the big finale to my Jaguar Restaurant project. As you can see, this is the Jaguar habitat going in around the side and the back of the habitat, of the restaurant, sorry. I've got the two Jaguars in already. Fantastic little creatures, they really are. The animation on them is brilliant, except they do glitch a little bit when they're climbing up the trees, as you'll see later on. But on the whole, yeah, they're lovely creatures. And I thought they don't need a massive area, so you can see I've given them a decent bit of running space here, and you can see them from upstairs in the restaurant as well as the downstairs window. And I wanted to create a swampy enclosure for them. They quite like that sort of environment. So nice and wet, lots of undergrowth. They're quite shy, so they like to be able to hide away from the public. Ironic, really, seeing as I've put them in a habitat where people are going to sit and eat their lunch and watch them. But I've given them the option at least. So I had the challenge in this of trying to create a swamp, essentially. And so my thinking behind that, and my method of doing it, obviously you can see I've already put in some shallow water. And that's the main thing you get in a swamp is water, but then you get lots of foliage. So that was going to be my challenge. And while I was building this this ramp structure that you can see here, I was thinking, well, how on earth am I going to create something that really looks like a swamp? I just wasn't sure what materials I had to play around with that would actually work. And I came up with one or two ideas that worked so well. I was rather impressed with myself, I have to say. I was so pleased. One idea in particular that I will highlight to you when we get to it. But anyway, firstly, I'm just building this structure here. As you can see, obviously it's a simple wooden structure with ramps and multiple levels. It means that they can get on top of it and they can go underneath it. And obviously I purposely built it at this end in front of the window because I wanted their bed area to be right outside the window. So when they're sleeping, they're doing it where the public can see them from the restaurant. And obviously these areas are here because when you're upstairs in the restaurant and you look out, this is what you see. So again, it's providing what the Jaguars would want. If you see them in zoos in this country, there's always a lot of these sort of large flat platforms around the enclosure because that's what they like to walk on and sit on and lie on and sleep on. So yeah, it's a very basic structure, but this really is exactly what you would see in a zoo. It doesn't have to be particularly spectacular for a lot of these animals. They don't need anything fancy. They just need the basics. They need shelter. They need cover. They need multiple levels to keep them interested. You know, the habitat's got to be interesting. You've got to keep their minds active. So you don't want anything to just be flat. You need things on multiple levels. You need different textures. So you've obviously in this habitat you've got ground, you've got water, you've got wood. Later on I do put some stone in as well, and that's important because obviously in the wild these animals will be coming across all these different textures, and it's important to make them stimulated by these things and to keep their brains active. So yeah, so you can see that I'll put the bedding down there. I also put some bedding up on the top here because I thought this is a good spot, a nice sort of sun trap. Again, these animals love lying in the sunshine when it's hot, so that's where they would go. And generally these animals would always go to the highest point if they were going to sleep because they don't like the idea that there's potential predators above them. Obviously, jaguars don't have many natural predators in the wild, but humans are certainly one of them. And you can see there a bit of the outside of the restaurant, and you'll see that properly later on. There's our first jaguar up, enjoying the bed that I've just put in for him, or her. Can't remember which one that was. So this was my good idea. These panels, sink them into the ground and put them under the water, and it just looks like water moss with some nice ferns. It just came to me. It's I have no idea if other people have thought of this before. I dare say someone has, but it just works so nicely. And obviously, once I then put all the other foliage around it, and it all blends together, it really does create a nice swamp effect. And that's exactly what I needed. I needed shallow water, but I needed plants in that water. And none of these ferns and things were going to cover the floor in the way that I wanted. So those panels are absolutely perfect for my needs. This was a bit of a disaster. This was me trying my technique of creating a small area, making it into a building, and then copying and pasting, and it doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work here is because of the land not being flat. So you build it on flat land, and then when you start putting it around, nothing is in the ground properly, as you'll see here. It just doesn't work. It's too much effort moving stuff around, and even if you make it so that it aligns to the surface, you still end up with things sticking up all over the place. And so the only way I could do this was just to individually place everything. I did make it into a building at least, so I could delete it if it turned out as a disaster, but luckily it didn't. So I just got to work on this. I just found the plants that I liked, and just went bananas with them, really. Again, it's bracken, it's ferns, it's all the usual stuff that would grow in a swamp. And yeah, you can see again, I'm trying some copying and pasting. I thought, well, if I build them on the slope and then move them around on the slope, that should work. No. Give up on that, Adam. It doesn't work. But there we go. We live and learn, don't we? Oh dear. I should have given up by now. I was persevering. I was determined to do it in a quick and easy way. And then I got to here and I just thought, no, this is ridiculous. Look at it. Everything's floating. It just looks terrible. Get rid of that. There we go. Start from scratch. That's what we do, isn't it? We make mistakes, we live, we learn, we move on, and we don't make the same mistakes again, hopefully. This is where we start doing it properly. So, plonking the ferns down. So literally, when I do this sort of thing, I just take one plant at a time, and I just randomly plonk. And you don't think about it too much. You don't want to space things evenly. You don't want everything facing the same way, so you just twist them occasionally. And you just go with your instincts. You plonk them down, sometimes spread out, sometimes next to each other. And that's the only way you can make it look natural. We do the same, when I work in real life. I'm a gardener, so this is what I do. I arrange flower beds quite a lot. And so obviously you don't quite work in the same way, but essentially if you've got an area of garden that you want to fill in with plants, and you've got 20, 30 plants in pots, you just grab them, you put them on, you plonk them down randomly, and then you stand back and you look. And you just keep doing it, and you keep moving things and rearranging things, and eventually you come up with a pattern that looks natural, if that's the look you're going for. Obviously in more formal gardens you can do things in more strict patterns, but generally I work in the public, public gardens, people's gardens, not public gardens, that doesn't make sense. Gardens that belong to the public, and people don't want their gardens looking formal. They want it to look natural. And so you're going for this sort of wild, natural look where things don't look forced, they don't look fake. You just plonk stuff down and let it grow as it would. And obviously you've got to think about when you plant a plant, it isn't usually a fully grown plant, so you've got to think a lot about what it's going to turn into. So you've got to know the plants, and you've got to know what they're going to look like in a couple of years' time once they're established, especially if you're planting shrubs. If you're planting perennials, it's a bit different, because obviously they grow once a year and then you cut them down and then they grow again next year, whereas shrubs obviously will grow until they reach their maximum size. And so if you're planting stuff like shrubs, you've got to plan a bit more, because you've got to think, well, in 10 years time it's going to be this big. But anyway, that's the game. I'm doing my usual here, putting some logs down. Again, swamps, logs, they go together, don't they? And you can see it's starting to look like a swamp. Put a couple of the dead tree pieces in where the Jaguars can actually climb them, as you're about to see. Look at that. It's a bit janky, but they do climb. So yeah, that's fine. And these logs, they just work so nicely, don't they? They're such a simple detail, but they really add a lot to an area, especially a swamp like this. Obviously they're not traversable, so you have to be careful where you put them to make sure you're not blocking anything, which I do check in a minute, because I did have to move one or two. And the reason I hadn't moved yet into this front area, I wasn't too sure what I was going to do here, and it turns out in the end I do pretty much continue the theme of the swamp. I have a few little trees I put down over here. I wanted a bit of height over here. I wanted some sort of tree. It needed to look a little bit swampy. I can't actually remember which one I went with in the end. But yeah, I wanted something that suited the area. Was this the one? Maybe not. Can't remember. Here we go. Yes, this one. So yeah, I thought they looked a bit swampy. I could get away with that. And then again, just continuing the theme afterwards. Just checking on the Jaguars there. Oh yes, I just checking the traversable areas. You can see there's a few little bits where they can't go, but it wasn't too much of a problem. I had to move this log over by the fence there. I think I moved just so that they could get right around the perimeter of the fence. And yeah, it wasn't a big problem there. Still looks nice. And yeah, and then what to do with the water? I think I go with the mossy rocks in the end. But in the meantime, I'll just continue the theme again. Just continuing the ferns and the bracken. Just filling it in. Didn't want it overcrowded at the front here, because obviously this is where the public are walking on the path. So I didn't want to block the view at all. I didn't want anything over here by the window, specifically because I wanted to put a feeder over there, because it's on display for the people inside the restaurant. So I didn't want that covered, and obviously this front bit here I didn't want covered because of that. That's the main viewing area of the water from the pathway. So you've got to think about these things. It's the sort of thing they do in real zoos. You know, they keep line of sight clear. They provide for the animal, but ultimately in any zoo you've got to keep the public happy as well, because otherwise they don't keep coming back. So if you go to a zoo and you don't see any of the animals because they're all hiding, then you're less likely to go back again, aren't you? And obviously these zoos rely on people going back time and time again to see the animals, because they need the money. They're not cheap things to run. And the more the better experience you have when you go, the more likely you are to go back, and the more likely you are to tell other people to go there as well. So I went with these mossy rocks. I think they look fantastic, and obviously they're very well suited to the theme that I was going for here. Again, this bit here I just didn't want to put foliage down, so I just went with the rocks along this edge, and it works really nicely, I think. Just checking on the traversable area, and again they can get around all the rocks and things. That's not a problem. There's not a lot that blocks these animals other than the big logs. So getting these feeders down, I wanted them obviously near the public areas, and I do end up putting a path right around the back of the enclosure here. And I do also, put some bedding down under the trees. I don't think they actually use it because it's not under shelter. Although they do use the one that's up on the ramp. So I don't know, maybe they just don't like it over there. But it's there anyway. I just thought I'd give them another option. Yeah, just plonking these little things, the what are they called? The entertainment items, enrichment around. Got to keep the animals happy, haven't we? And we're nearly done actually for the habitat. Oh yes, the water. I wanted it to look fairly natural. I didn't want to cover it in with with concrete, which I've done in other enclosures or anything like that. I wanted it to look almost like it's actually a natural water hole. So again, just going with this eelgrass, which is fantastic. And then it suddenly occurred to me that I really needed to put this grass in the shallow water. I mean, look at it. It's just the nicest looking plant. Whether it's in the water or not, it's a fantastic looking plant. And it works really nicely in here. As you can see there, just checking the view from inside the restaurant. It's very nice that you can sit in there and see the Jaguars having a snooze. And yeah, so I just went back along the stream here, particularly along the edges, and got this grass in. It really finishes it off nicely. There is one more little touch that I do to the swamp, which is I'm undecided whether I like it or not, but it's a bit late to undo it now. I do put some smoke effects, just a few dotted along the water, just to add a bit of atmosphere, a bit of swampiness. Swamps, you often get this sort of water vapour hanging in the air around swamps, and that was the effect I was going for. So yeah, it is what it is. I quite like it. I don't know if it's something that would actually happen in a zoo, to be honest, but I wanted to give it a go because it wasn't something that I'd done before. So that's what I did. I don't know if that's actually on the video, but you'll see it in the real time. So at the end of this video, I will be doing a real-time segment where I will go back and have a look at the restaurant and all the extra details that I've done in there. And then I will show you the finished habitat as well. As you can see, we're about to start work on the building at the end here. I've got the keeper hut. Didn't put a staff from here because there is one nearby, so I didn't need to do that. But I wanted to put a building here, just something small, just to cover up the keeper hut. And I wanted to keep it themed with the restaurant. So that's what I did. I had an idea. I didn't want it just to be a square box, but ultimately that is what I ended up with. But actually I'm very happy with how it turned out. But I toyed with the idea here of having some sort of tower, sort of a two-layered effect, but it just wasn't going to look right. As soon as I built that wall segment, I just looked at it and I thought, don't like it. So yeah, that doesn't last long at all. Because I thought I should match it to the restaurant with this idea of having a flat roof, and it just wasn't working. Having the tower, it was too pointy, I would say. So yeah, so I scrapped that and just went with the small bit of the building. You can see just deleting it off and just filling it in down the bottom here, and actually what it turns out, it is a very square building, which I'm not that keen on doing, but I think I've got away with it because I've detailed it enough, I think, that that it works. You can see I've gone with the same roof technique. I think I delete the very top layer of that roof. It looked a little bit too pointy, just one too many layers, so I'm pretty sure I do get rid of that final piece at some point. A couple of fake doors, obviously. I like to do this just to keep the realism up a bit. I think I do move the building out so that the doors are actually fairly matching. Try and keep as much room for the animals inside the enclosure as well. And yeah, there we go. There's the top point of the roof going. And I do quite a lot of detail on this building and around it. There's not too much actually on this video. I will save most of it for the real-time part. You can see I wanted something other than the stone. I wanted a bit of a roof around the edge. I thought that looked pretty nice. And it adds, when you have this, you have a different texture of course, but you also have a different shape, and it just adds I don't know, adds something to the building, because it allows me to do some wooden beams around it as well, that sort of thing. And it just makes it look real, you know, it makes it look like it could exist in real life, whereas just a little stone blocky building, it just wasn't looking realistic. So yeah, so that's what I was doing there, and then just putting these wooden beams around again. It's just edging. I do like my edging, just to blend the stone into the tiled roof. I thought a wooden edge, blended the two together quite nicely. So that's what I go with on here. And then there's an awful lot of detailing that I do off camera around this building, which I will be able to show you in the real time, which is coming up any minute now. So I will leave you there, and I will see you again in a moment. Hello and welcome back to the real-time segment of our Jaguar Restaurant and Habitat. So this is the first time I've been able to show you my finished product, and I'm really happy with it. Here you can see the outside of the restaurant. I've detailed it, so I've got this statue over here, lovely little Jaguar statue. Really like that. It's a lovely little thing. Very simple out here. I put these. I put the moss down because I thought that looked nice. I did this pattern with the stones. Don't know why. It doesn't mean a lot, but I don't know. I just kind of like the look of it. Yeah, really didn't want too much out here. I didn't want anything tall. I didn't want to cover the statue. I didn't want to hide the building. You know, after putting so much effort into a building like this, you don't want anything out the front that covers it up. Date palm on the corner here, again with some of these other palms sunk into the ground. I think these look really nice when they're sunk in like that. And you can see that I did the flower pots with the hydrangeas and the big lipstick palms. I did originally try with some trees in here, but they were too big, and they covered up this lovely copper coloured metal framework at the back, which I didn't want. I wanted to see that. Sign over this side, I'm going to be honest, I'm not good with signs really. It's not my area of expertise. I know a lot of people are really good at coming up with custom signs and custom fonts, but it's not my thing. So I'm using this in-game stuff at the moment. It's okay, you know, it's as good as it's going to get for me, unless someone builds me a new sign. So I'm fine with that. I'm more than happy with that. So here's the restaurant. I'll go downstairs first, of course. I added these details on out here, and I loved it. I thought it would work really nicely because I'd used some inside, and I just thought there was something about this area here, this doorway. It was just a bit too bold, a bit too plain. Even though it's a nice texture and lots of colours in the wood, I just thought it needed something else. So I just took some of these, I think they're from the Arctic pack, but that I could be wrong there, but they look a bit sort of Asian. And I just put them together and sunk them into this wood here, and I think just breaks it up, it just adds something. Don't know what, but it works. I like it. So yeah, I was very happy with that. So coming in here, there have been some changes in here. Oh look, the staff members, I don't know why they keep getting stuck on this table. Very, very odd. because there's pathway under all of this, so there's no reason for them to get stuck on that specific table every time. But they keep doing it. Look, I bet you she's going to come back in again. No good. Go away. Yeah, go somewhere else. Do some work. Okay, right. So yeah, so in here, I think the last time you saw this, I had some benches arranged down the middle. So as you can see, I moved them. I didn't like the look of that. It was too linear, and I wanted some sort of centerpiece with some flowers. So I built this sort of raised water bed in here. So it's just soil in here with a nice plant, and then I just put a fountain in. So they're really easy to build, these things, just simple, and it just adds, obviously if I've got the sound turn on, it adds a bit of sound, adds some texture and some colour and some height, and it's just pleasant when you're sitting down eating your lunch. It's nice to have foliage around you, and water is always very calming. And at the back here I did have the 3 planter pots, but I didn't like them, so I moved one of them into the middle here and got rid of the other 2, and then I just continued the theme that I'd done here. So again here I had these corner pieces, but I put these red frames, the wooden frames, in because the red pieces on their own just they stood out too much, so I wanted to blend them in. So I put these wooden posts around. As you can see, I've done it on all sides, and I think it just works much nicer now with that. And so I just continued that theme here again, just copied them over here, and then obviously I had this gap where there isn't a shop, and so I just put one of these large round motifs here, and I think that's yeah, it fills in very nicely. Coming over here, you can see obviously this is the intention. You can stand, oh look, he's having a yawn. Oh, they're so cute, aren't they? Look at that. Look at that. You want to tickle his tummy, but if you did, he'd probably bite your arm off. But yeah, so the idea here obviously is that you can stand here and you can watch the animals down here, but you can also see them up here. So I put one of these scent bags up on the deck here, and they you know, the Jaguars do come up on here and they use this. Obviously you've got the scratching post out here, and then this side you've got the hanging food. In fact, there is some meat on there at the moment, so hopefully one of them would come along soon and have a munch of that. And you can also see some of the water from in here as well, so quite a nice view from the restaurant. Put an education board in here as well. This is the sort of thing that you would get in the real zoo. And then this is what I explained this on one of my other commentaries. These stone pillars that I put on the back side of the building, obviously they stuck, that's not a word, excuse me, let me get my tongue working. They stuck into the building here, and so I had to be creative here and do something with these gaps. So this is what I came up with: simple wooden shelving and a wooden backdrop, wooden top here, a couple of education boards, and some sort of African looking pottery, a couple of statues, and then I've done the same up here. Ooh, let's get out the roof, there we go. So yeah, it's pretty simple, but the idea is that maybe this is some sort of art exhibition, and some information about them. I don't know, I think it works. It fills the gaps in, looks nice. Obviously the wood is the same as I've used on the banisters, so it all blends together nicely. It made the stairs a bit thinner, but they're still plenty wide enough. So yeah, I was really happy with that solution actually. It turned out nice. So yeah, this downstairs, I'm really happy with this. I think my favourite bit is the roof. I think having this multi-leveled roof works really well. It's definitely something that I'll probably use again, maybe in a different way, but the same idea. I do really like it. Oh yes, this end, of course, you can see out of here, but at the moment there is nothing out there. In fact, you can see something in the distance there that you're not meant to see, but I'll get to that in a few videos time. I think if you look closer you might see an elephant or two, but forget that you heard that, because you're not going to see them for a little while yet. For now, let's head upstairs, and I can't quite remember what is new up here. Probably not too much actually. Yeah, I think this pretty much stayed the same. from the time lapse. This fountain, I explained the problems I had. I think when I went down through the ground, you can see the water comes below ground here, and originally it was coming right down here. In fact, you can still just see it above this light here occasionally, but it's not too bad. So I had to raise it right up, and obviously you can see it goes clearly up here into the roof, and in fact right up into these concrete bits. But I don't care. It's the smallest fountain I could create, so I like it. I think it looks, I mean, it's a bit over the top. I'm not sure it would really be here, but I'm okay with it. I don't mind. These rippled effects are really nice. They really add to the effect that the water is actually pouring down and dripping. So yeah, happy with that. Really like that. If you come over to the window, obviously the idea was that you could see out into the habitat. So you can. So you know, you'd get people standing and looking down. You can see the animals roaming around. You can see one down there. And obviously over here, you can come over to the stairs here and look through the undergrowth, and you can see right out to. Obviously, this is their bed area, so they spend a bit of time there. And eventually, you'll be able to look out over the whole zoo. But for now, it's mostly just the Jaguars. And from here, again, this is oh, you don't want to see that. I'm trying not to show you too much here, because there's stuff in the distance that you're not meant to see yet, because it's for a future video. But yeah, obviously, standing here, you'd be able to see right out across the rest of the zoo. I stuck a couple of these pillars on here. I love these. I know they're wooden and they don't really match the stone, but I think they work okay, and I just love them, so I chucked a couple of them on there. And the flowers. What I said about these, they were just a little bit too generic. So what I did, I took the strips and I found the individual ones, and I just on each side just blended them together. Just got some of these, put one in here. Some of these, put one in here, you know, just to blend them together a little bit more. I think it's okay. Not perfect, but it's all right. And I did that all the way around the edge here. You see, so they just overlap the different types, just a little bit, and yeah, it creates a nice effect. And obviously, you come out of here, you go down the steps. Finished a bit of detailing on this building here. Again, not going to look that way because you're not meant to see that. But most of this is open. There is a path under here, so people will come across this bit. But you do get a lot of this in zoos. You get these big open areas. You will get buildings like this that they don't need to be fancy. They don't need to be decorated because they're just functional. They're just doing their job. And then we come around here again. I think you saw most of this in the time lapse, but obviously this is new. So there's education boards, and you've got the path all the way around this side, and I went with my usual rock edging here along the bottom, and that continues all the way around to where the keeper hut is. But I'm not going to go in that way. I'm actually going to come around the front to show you the habitat. I did have to redo this actually. This is where the path all went a bit wrong here, and it messed up this corner where the tortoises are, so I had to just extend this ridge out here and put a couple of new flower pots on there, but that wasn't a big problem. So here we are with the Jaguars, and I'm really happy with how this all came out. Let's go in and see them. Having a little swim down here. He's a happy little chap, isn't he? Yeah, you put your toy in the water. What are you going to do with it now? Let's reset that, otherwise they won't use it, I don't think, if it's in the water. I think it's meant to be, yes, it's meant to be out here. So, what have I done in here? Oh yes, I told you about the mist. You can see I added some mist effects just in the water here, and it just adds to that swamp effect. And I think it's okay. It's a bit over the top, but it's fine. I like it. So when you come down here, I mean, this really does look like a swamp. You know, low-lying water, lots of growth, lots of green, not a lot of colour. You don't get a lot of colour in a swamp. Just lots of undergrowth and indeed overgrowth. Everything's just growing on top of each other and through each other. You know, the fallen logs, the rotten trees, that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with how this all came out, actually. And obviously the animals do come right out and roam around. Have we lost one? Oh no, there's one still sitting under there, just chilling out, and one in the water. So yeah, this habitat turned out really well. Really happy with that. Yet again, I mean, I keep building these habitats and I keep being happy with the results, which is nice. I know eventually I'm going to build one that I'm not happy with. We'll deal with that when I come to it. But yeah, I mean, the animals seem pretty happy in here as well, as you can see. They're splashing around and having fun. Right, so the only bit left then is this corner over here. So here we go. This is what I did with the keeper hut building. Simple path again, lots of oak growth, lots of bracken, stone edging. Put a couple of these nice big pines in here. I can't remember what type they are. Oh, there we go, the black spruce. I just like the look of them. I just wanted something on this this corner that was slightly different. So just chucked a few of them on. And then this building, you can see I finished off with a lot of the wooden edging and the beams, and some hanging baskets. And then I put some metal fencing on here, because around this side, obviously the path continues right around here. And there was a lot of dark colour on here, and so I wanted this metal railing purely for the shine. I just wanted something a bit brighter. Obviously I'll put some flower pots. I don't know, I tried the metal railing and it worked. I liked it. And again, I went with this plant down the bottom here. I can't remember what it's called, this one. Oh yes, Dutchman's Breeches. Mostly because of the foliage, because the leaf is basically like a fern leaf, and so it matched, it sort of blended in with the ferns that I was doing everywhere around it. And yeah, I think yeah, I like it. Worked out okay. So again, just continued that right around this corner. More education boards, one more of the trees here, lots of bracken, and then that continues all the way around back to where we were before. And that's kind of it. Now I'm going to just zoom out here, but I'm going to do it in a way that I don't give away my future videos. I mean, yeah, I'm really happy with how this all came out. I think it blends together nicely, and as a project, I think it's probably my favourite building that I've done so far in the zoo. Let me just show you what it looks like at night time, actually, because the lighting works really nicely. Just lit up out the front a bit with some basic lights, but the inside, particularly upstairs, but I mean downstairs, it looks right. I think it's actually odd. I've noticed that it's a graphical thing. When you go inside the building, it gets darker. You see how bright that is in there, and then when you actually go in, it dims. I'm not sure why it does that. I don't know if that's a setting, but it's a bit odd, because I actually prefer it brighter like that. Yeah, I don't know. But upstairs, I think the upstairs really stands out. It's the sort of thing you'd want the upstairs to blend, not to blend, to stand out from a long way away, and it does. You know, you can be right up on this walkway over here. I mean, this is the entrance here, so you'd walk straight in, and look at that. You'd see that straight away, and you'd be interested. Your eye would be caught, and you'd think, "Oh, look at that! Something over there. Let's go check it out." Yeah, so really like how this all looks. I'd be more than happy to sit up here at night and have my dinner. Not too much lighting outside here. Just got the one up here. There's so much light that comes out from the inside that I didn't really think it was necessary. And down here again, simple lighting here. Obviously I haven't decided what I'm doing over here yet. And the enclosure, don't think I put a lot, no, because again they get some light from the building, and I didn't feel the need to put any other lights in there. This building, again, you know, a couple of lights out the front, and you get the light from the doorway here, and obviously the fake lights from the windows. And I think I put yeah, just one more inside the habitat there with the door. So yeah, on the whole, I think this is my favourite bit of the zoo so far, actually. the way it came together with the habitat and the building all together, it's yeah, really happy with that. Let me know what you think. If you like it, please let me know. If you've got any ideas for anything I should have done differently, I don't think I'm going to rebuild it now, but you know, if you've got ideas and suggestions, obviously I will listen and take those ideas into my future projects. But for now, I think I'm going to leave it there. So thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope I've talked some sense and maybe you've picked up an idea or two for your own zoos. And I will see you in the next one. Spoiler alert, warthogs. That's all I'm going to say. Next episode, warthogs. Join me to see the pigs. Thank you so much. I will see you next time, I hope. Bye bye.